Oh, hey, everybody.
Hey!
It's me, Jenny, and Tressa,
Hello.
and we are Monsters Lounge. And we have a great show. We have a really fantastic show, and I'm very excited and very curious. It's
Oh, you know what? Before I get started, I have a little bit of a correction to make from last week's show.
that is correct.
My
Yeah.
apologies to everyone. I just got really excited to talk about Old Greenie. And I was talking about the wrong lake. He was from a Lake Chijugi, whatever that place was called. But that's a finger lake and was not man
Good
made.
job.
Thank you. I did not practice. I was actually talking about Messi from Lake Murray, but that's the lake that was man-made. But Old Greenie does exist in one of the Finger Lakes that I forget how to say. Okay, sorry everybody. Don't
Oh, man.
don't go
That's
back and research.
that's it. I'm done. I don't. Oh.
No.
All right, I'm going to stay for tonight's guest, and that's it. So
Okay, that's
we're going to have
that's
some
fine.
serious discussions later.
Oh no.
Because I've always been accurate. 1,000% accurate.
I know. That's why you're
90%
here.
of the time.
Because I'm not.
Listen, let me tell you about our guest.
Okay.
All right. This man, he joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, in 1991 and has held the following positions: field investigator, training coordinator for field investigators, the assistant state director in Northern California, chairman of the AERC, which is the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, and team leader of the ART, which is the Abduction Response Team. Also, during that time, he became a facilitator for an abduction support group in San Jose, California. And in 1994, he co-founded OPUS, which is the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Please help me welcome Lester Velez.
Yay.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
pleasure.
admittedly, my is specialty. I don't know. The place where I spend the most time reading is going to be in cryptids and folklore and mythology. A little bit of high strangeness, but UFOs and aliens are something that I know a little bit about, but not very much. I don't do a lot of research into it. So, you know, when I'm looking at topics that you are versed in, the first things I see are hybrids and implants. And for me, I immediately go X-Files, which I know is not, you know,
The documentary.
that's not a documentary.
Series?
I know that that's not a documentary. So I am dying to know, what are these things? What sort of experiences are there that you can think of that would explain to a newbie like me what's happening out there?
Well, it's a very complicated field to begin with. This phenomena has so many aspects to it that once you start going down the rabbit hole, there's so many avenues and little holes and that you can take to try to understand all of this. But the bottom line is, if you take one particular thing, such as you brought up the implant situation, there's been quite a bit of research with regard to these implants, and the late Roger Leir, Dr. Roger Leir, was able to take 17 people that had these implants, and they had them removed. Okay, and let me read you some of the findings that they actually had when they removed these things. First of all, there was no inflammatory rejection reaction by the body to the foreign object, which is very unusual to begin with, because you get a splinter in your finger,
Right.
it gets red and sore, so you know right away. But evidently, there's not usually a reaction to the body. There's no visible portal of entry, which is again another interesting factor. There's specialized nerve endings surrounding the object, which again, when you get a splinter, that doesn't happen. There's an outer coating of ceramic biological material. there's a metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue, which is really bizarre. Uh, Now this is a really interesting one. There's like emissions of radio waves, which are deep space frequencies in the FM band.
What? FM band?
So who's listening? Who's monitoring these things? You know, that's a very interesting question in and of itself. There's a electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milligauss. So these things are emitting energy. There's composition of meteoric iron 66. Now that in itself is, why would it be this one particular uh, element? Rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself, as well as elements such as uridium, which is very rare to find in our Earth's crust. Um, Now, the next one is a really interesting thing to me. Non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements do not come from Earth.
I love
Bingo.
that.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
people say that we don't have evidence. Guess what?
We very much
Yeah.
do.
so first of all, how large are these things usually? I mean,
Oh
I'm
my
guessing
goodness.
not the size of a microwave.
No, I mean these are very in the millimeter range. I mean these are
Like a
small.
grain of
Very,
rice,
very
right?
Yeah, like a grain
okay.
of rice or something like that. I mean they can be very small. They come in various sizes. They can be triangular in shape. They can be cylindrical in shape. They can be corkscrew. There's been many that have, and they're all over the body. I mean, in your arm, in your leg, in your thigh, in your nose, in your brain. There's they've been found all over the place. Some of which you can't retrieve just because of where it's located. Um, so the existence of carbon nanotubes. Okay, now this one particular patient had this thing removed, and it was a carbon nanotube, and this was done at a time when we have now come up with carbon nanotubes, but back when this all supposedly happened, when he got the implant, we didn't have that technology. Um, there's gold spheres, which have unknown function, which is another interesting thing. Metallic caverns that are no larger than the diameter of one atom. Um, and there's resistance to cutting by in ordinary techniques such as metallic sawing or severing with a cutting instrument. One of the specimens had to be cut with a laser. Um, so it goes on and on. And this was all analyzed by a very respected lab. And so when these debunkers talk about the fact that we don't have proof, guess what? We do have proof. There's
Yeah.
something going on. Now, who has put those in the person? Is it extraterrestrials? Is it interdimensionals? Is it time travelers? Or is it our military? Uh, is a possibility.
So going back just to like rewind it. So are they found they're found primarily or only in people who have been abducted?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that something that people automatically look for, or is there like a symptoms? Like, can you go to like the
Yeah.
diagnostic manual and be like, oh, maybe we
You
should look for this, or
usually
is it automatic?
usually people that are having have an implant that may be causing an issue for them for whatever reason,
Okay.
and then they go to the doctor and they say, I've got this area here that's giving me a problem, and so they do an X-ray and they find that there's something in there, and then they try to figure out, well, how did it get there? Well, I don't have a recollection of ever having had an accident or something that might cause that to be there. And so, and there's been cases where people have had an X-ray and they saw the object, and then when they went to remove it, it was gone.
Oh, that's
Because
not
they,
great
they
either.
they came
Uh-uh.
in, whoever had put those there removed it before they had an opportunity to take it out. And one of the things when people do come to us, our organization, and say that they have an implant. I said, if it's not bothering you, I wouldn't remove it, because a lot of times what happens is if it is removed, um, it gets replaced,
Yeah.
and it gets replaced in a place that's even more difficult to remove. So
Oh, yeah. So leave the first one. Don't wait
yeah,
until the
yeah,
backup
unless
one.
it's bothering you, and then you can take it out and
Mhm.
then hope for the best.
And we
Hope
don't know
for
what the
luck.
function
Yeah.
is of these at all?
Well, I mean,
Us?
there's a lot of theories with regard to it. Is it a tracking device? Is it monitoring some kind of? I've heard that theories about the fact that it's monitoring pollution levels in our bodies,
Oh.
which is kind of interesting. Um, or is it a way to control us in some way, shape, or form that we don't understand? You know, so your guess is as good as mine, and nobody has a definitive answer for this.
Yeah, that's the nature of it, I guess.
Oh
Yeah, you
yeah.
talk about them being like very rare metals or things that are not of terrestrial origin,
Hmm.
and you did the one, of course, the one elemental word that I pick up on is uranium because that's the only thing that I know.
Hmm.
Like, oh, that's bad. You shouldn't be around that. Are there long-term effects? Do we know yet of having these sort of? You've got a extraterrestrial sort of mineral metal in you. Is there a long-term effect of that? Do we know
Yeah,
yet?
and I don't think anybody has done any studies, long-term studies with regard to this, because most of the people that have had issues with them try to get them removed,
Mhm.
and those people that haven't had issues, um, they most of them don't even know they have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Most of them
that
don't
makes
even know they
sense.
have it, and whether or not they come down with cancer because of the uranium or something like that, it's totally possible. It's totally and it's a good question. It's a very good question, but there's been no definitive research in that regard, and
I mean,
unfortunately, yeah.
oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe I'm just feeling differently because I don't have something that might be tracking me or
Mm,
measuring me in some way, but
mhm.
why is it my instantaneous thought would be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm cool with you tracking me. I just don't want cancer, man."
Yeah. Oh, of course not.
That's my
Of course not.
That's
immediate thought.
valid.
Oh, of course
Like, you're
not. No.
gonna see me anyway, so
You're
Yeah.
gonna take one
Yeah.
of the two, yeah.
No. Yeah. Take her, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm volunteering
No. No.
someone.
No, I mean, this field is just rife with questions,
Yeah.
and we don't have a lot of answers,
Well, that's why
unfortunately.
you're here, so we're gonna have to let
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, we're gonna need all of the answers from you by the end of the show, so
Yeah. No. No.
So it
No. It's
sounds like it has like a power source inside of it. Like it's got to, right?
yeah. Well, if it's transmitting,
Yeah.
yeah,
mm,
it has a power source to be able to do that in some way, shape, or form. That again, we don't understand how it works. I mean, do we understand how these objects do what they do? Like the tic tacs that the government talks about. And these fighter pilots talk about. How they can possibly do what they do, and the energy source is something that we supposedly don't understand. However, I had the
Wink.
opportunity to have lunch with Lou Elizondo uh, right before COVID shut everything down, and he talked about the fact that they think they understand how these objects are able to do what they do with a power source that's very small, extremely small, and and that they can actually manipulate time and space, which is
Do they
that's
understand that
mind blowing.
part?
Supposedly, and he drew some diagrams and everything for us when we were talking to him at lunch, and so the government knows a hell of a lot more than
Oh,
they're
mm,
allowing us to know,
of
and
course.
so I think that there's obviously some national security issues that are involved with this, because we certainly don't want our enemies, whether it's the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, or Iran, or whoever, to really understand that we might understand what's going on to a greater degree. Um, and we're also interfacing with these entities, okay, whether it's extraterrestrial in nature or it's interdimensional in nature. There's a whole nother reality that exists, which includes cryptids,
Mm-hmm.
like Sasquatch. There's so many sightings of UFOs with regard to Sasquatch being sighted.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean it goes hand in hand, and so they are able to disappear in such a way that seems mind-boggling. Somebody sees one, and then the next thing that they try to track it with follow the footprints, and then it's just gone. It's absolutely gone. Where did it
Oh
go?
yeah.
Where did it go? So,
Yeah.
and a lot of this is really interconnected. It's very much interconnected, and it really boils down to the fact that we're living in a certain reality, and there's multitudes of other realities that exist, that some of it which we see and some of which we don't see.
Oh.
Yeah, what is it? Neil deGrasse Tyson said we understand. I was just watching a little clip of his the other day because I love him, and he was talking about like we understand like 4% of the universe, like 4%.
Yeah, and he's a guy that doesn't believe that we're being visited by extraterrestrials or
I know, but he's so
non-human
cool.
intelligences. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I don't love him.
4%.
I totally disagree with him on
Same.
all of that. And there's so much evidence to the fact that yes, this is going on. And now that we have you know Grush talking to the congressional committee with
Hmm.
Mhm.
Graves and such, that hey, we have crashed UFOs. We have alien bodies. Come on, people. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't believe he's still trying to espouse that theory that no, 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 they can't be here. It's not. It's baloney.
I
Oh
still
my
Right.
love me
God.
some
He's
some
a nice
Tyson
guy, and
though.
matter of
He
fact,
explains things really well.
I saw him in Seattle at a lecture and stuff, and it was very interesting. He did a great
Yeah.
show, but I don't agree with a lot of what he said.
Yeah, it's
Same.
beyond me anyway. Oh my god, that's fascinating. It's
Mhm.
that's insane. It's fascinating. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Oh yeah. There's so much going on now, and and with the amount of media coverage that's going on now with regard to this whole phenomena, and people like yourselves, and thank you, ladies, for what you do, because it's very important that you're
We're just a
putting
couple
out.
of jerks. Thank you.
No, 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 no. I mean, what you're doing is very helpful to putting out the word and getting other people to understand that there is another reality that's happening. Whether you're talking about your cryptids, your poltergeist activity, you name it. It's all connected. It's all connected in some strange way that we truly just don't understand fully. And so, if we ever
Yeah.
will understand it.
Right. And that's part of the fun, but at the same time, we want answers.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
we
course,
yeah.
of
Yeah,
course,
everybody
of
wants
course.
answers and it's
Yeah.
interesting to think about and it's fascinating to think about, and also like in everybody that we've talked to, there is this certain level of there's more being talked about now and certainly trying to erase some of the stigma surrounding things and as we talk about it and as more people talk about it and come forward with experiences, I really feel like that starts to ebb. I mean, we're nowhere close to where it should be, but at least people are talking.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Jenny. That uh, there's been so much stigma attached to this phenomena. You know, uh, people that are having these experiences, they're not able to talk to family members oftentimes, or their spouse, or their fellow workers, or their clergy even, and they're totally isolated, and a lot of times they go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and they wonder if they're going crazy, and then they find out that they don't have a psychopathology,
Hmm.
and so then what? Where do they turn? What do they do? who do they talk to about these things? And so that's why we basically started the OPUS organization, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding Support, to help these people. And we've done it by basically having three things that we offer these people. One is an international confidential online support group where we have almost 400 people that are in the support group from all over the world, literally all over the world, from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, from South America, from North America, talking 24/7 about their experiences and asking questions, and they're able to do that on a regular basis, and that is proved to be one of the most helpful things for these people because they understand that they're not alone, that other people are having similar circumstances in their lives. And we also have a referral network of mental health practitioners and hypnotherapists that if that's what they're looking for, we can point them in that direction. And then we have the third thing, which is sort of a triage group, which we call our EST, or the Experiencer Support Team, that talks to these people, and so you have a live body to talk to in our organization to find out what it is that they need and how we can possibly help them. So it's proved to be very good, and we've been doing this since 1994.
I can't imagine how helpful that would be for somebody. For the longest time, no one would ever say anything, or they would be afraid or would be laughed at. And now to have like a support system is amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah. And we do want to talk about that a little bit more, but if I don't ask about hybrids, my brain might explode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it's starting to expand a little bit here.
It is. It's expanding a little bit. That's why I'm holding my hand sort of next to my head, because
it happens a lot.
we're gonna hold that in there.
Okay.
And then,
well, the hybrid situation is very interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up. Um, I actually knew a hybrid, a woman that actually her organs were in different places in her body.
What?
Whoa!
And she was a remarkable woman, and one of the things that people talk about, like in the scientific community, is how do we tell that a person is a hybrid? Because we don't have supposedly any alien DNA to compare these people. But these people that claim that they're hybrids have such a strong feeling about that, that it's overwhelming for them. In the case of this particular woman, it was just an amazing, overwhelming factor for her, and she totally knew that she was a hybrid. There was no question about it in her mind. And all I can say about this is the fact that in talking to experiencers that have had, in the case of a woman having multiple hybrid children, because they had taken her egg and then they implanted her, and they removed the fetus, after a short period of time. She had like 19 or 20 children, and she visited these children on board the craft. And then there was a man that I know in our support group, actually, that had a similar situation where they took his sperm, they impregnated a woman with his sperm, and the children were presented to him afterwards. And so what's the purpose of this? And that's the big question. Why is this going on? And evidently, it's a process that is twofold. One is that, and you hear these things posited, that one is that it's nefarious in nature. Okay, that they're basically going to take over. Okay, eventually, based on the fact that you and I could be hybrids, and so we will all have a similar mindset, at some point in time. And the other factor is that we're basically they're trying to save their own civilization by doing this hybridization process because they're dying off. And so they need to do something to prevent that. So they're going to combine these things. It's so complicated. I mean, supposedly there's like 86 different races that are
That's what I was going
intervening
to ask.
in
Is it?
this whole process, and some of them have negative reasons to be here. Some of them want us to be eradicated.
Oh,
Some of them want us to continue on, and so those people are helping us to fend off these negative forces. Um, and Believe me, it is extremely complicated. They have a hybrid process where the first generation doesn't look very much like you and I, but by the fourth or fifth generation of this hybridization process, they look like you and I. You can't tell them apart. And so, and I asked a question of one of the experiencers that had gone through this whole process. I said, what happens to these first and second or third generation people? Well, they're doing jobs. They're collecting samples of animals. They're collecting samples of bugs. They're whatever is here on this planet. And then they're seeding it on other planets in the universe. I mean, it gets to be so complicated, and that's the bottom line on this thing. It's very complicated. Uh,
yeah, it sounds like that's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard of them seeding other planets with stuff here. Is their
yeah,
stuff that
yeah,
great?
taking
Yeah.
stuff from here and seeding it in other places, and I think also the fact that one of the things that many experiencers come back after being abducted, they come back with a mindset that we have to be better stewards of the planet. We need to be better people to one another. We need to be more loving. These are all very positive things, and if we
Yeah.
all, you know, every generation goes through that process, hopefully we'll get to the point where there won't be any wars. We'll be better to one another. Instead of spending all that money on the military, we won't need to anymore. We can spend it on other beneficial things. Of course, the one thing I always say, with all this craziness that's going on, whether Russia or Ukraine or Israel and the Palestinians or North Korea and Iran, China and Russia, whatever, we should put the women in charge. I think because all these
Yes.
damn things are caused by men.
Yes.
So
We're
I
not
mean, I'm not
doing
going to
that.
argue.
ladies, take over, please. Frickin'
Thank
take
you.
over.
All right. You heard him. You heard him right here, right now.
Somewhat
Trust and I.
related to that
I'll,
Here we
statement
go.
that is very true.
I'll vote
Why
for you.
are Thank you. You're talking to me, I'm sure. Why are they not abducting billionaires and making them see how terrible everything is? Because
Well,
they are the worst of it.
yeah. Well,
Am I right?
what's happening is that a lot of these people in high places are already been contacted, and that they already have a mindset. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time for that to really bubble up and come to fruition. Um, there's been, you know, okay, I'll tell you a little story. One of the support group meetings. I facilitated a support group meeting in San Jose for years. And one day, this woman in the group said, "I've seen you before." "Oh, really? At a UFO conference?" "No, I saw you on board the craft." I said, "Really? Oh, that's
Oh.
interesting." And I kind of blew it off. And it was like a year and a half later that another person, totally different person, said, "I've seen you before." And I said the same thing. "Where? At a UFO conference?" "No, no, no. You were sitting on this bench naked on board the craft and you were freaking out. And they told me to go over to you to calm you down." And I said, "Oh, really?" So at that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to go get regressed.
Yeah.
And I had three separate regressions, and did not find out anything along those lines. However, I had
Oh.
multiple past lives, and reincarnation seems to be a universal mechanism that goes on, and many experiencers and many of these experiencers talking to these entities talk about that reincarnation is a factor that goes on, where your energy, your soul goes out there, comes back eventually, and so you never die. You never die. You know,
So
you,
are
Totally.
some of these like abductees and some of these experiencers, have they had reoccurring lives where they've had multiple like are they just being sort of tracked from life to life to life?
well, the question is, well, let me finish that story actually,
Oh,
because
sorry.
uh,
I
that's
got
all
so
right. No, no, no,
excited.
no. I know, but that's good. That's a good question. It was like subsequent to that revelation and all the things that I had gone through in the regression, I was talking to someone else, and the person said to me, and this is really interesting, that person might have seen you in a past life where that had occurred. And so this is something that they're able, they, whoever they are, uh, can manipulate space and time. And so it's totally possible that that had happened in a previous life, which I didn't go into. And I never went back to look at each one of those lifetimes that I had, other lifetimes. And but it's something that maybe someday I will. But right now, and what I've finally come to realize, I think, because you don't have a memory of it, is that a lot of us don't have memories of having an experience. Okay. So I certainly don't have a conscious memory of it. And I believe, and this is radical, that we've all had an experience, whether we know it or not. It is something that is part of some mechanism that's going on right now. And so and the Roper organization back in '92 presented a poll where they felt at that time that 6 million people in the United States had an experience. Now, fast forward in time, how many more people have been abducted? This is a worldwide phenomena. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's millions and millions of people that are having experiences, whether they consciously remember it or not. So, and I'm on this path. How the hell did I get on this path? Why am I doing what I'm doing? I've tried to, sometimes a couple of times I've said, okay, I've had enough. I'm gonna get out of here,
Hmm.
and I've been sucked back in. It's like they're they're not letting me stop what I'm doing. This is my mission. This is my mission to to help people that are having these experiences.
Wow.
That's wild to me. I wonder, like, in my mind, I'd think they'd be like, please stop that. We were trying to get our work done. Just shush, shush, shush.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, 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 no. Help those guys so we can keep doing this.
Well, I think in one respect that there's been a lot of people in the ufological field that have had issues with the Men in Black or various governmental organizations that try to shut them down. I've never had any kind of thing like that happen, and I think what it is that whoever they are thankful for what I'm doing because I'm keeping a lid on things, so to speak, because I'm helping these people, and they haven't been running to their congressmen or their clergy or whoever to say, "Hey, this is going on. This is crazy. We got to do something about this." And so uh, it's interesting to me that this has been going on, and that I haven't been pinged by those entities, if you will, the three-lettered organizations, as to what I've been doing. They seem to
Yeah.
be fine with it. So,
That is a lot. And you know what? We need to take a break. So we're going to do that right now. I feel like I have more questions than I did before you got on the show.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because you learn more, and now I have all of these other questions, and
or maybe just like my brain is slowly imploding. Like I didn't realize I
coming
didn't
to
even
life.
I don't I didn't think that I never even considered past life abductions and then having that go throughout your next life and the life after that. Like just get me off this planet. I don't want to come back here once I'm dead. God.
Well,
Come
you
on.
may have a
Remember it.
choice. Evidently,
Oh,
you can have a choice as to where you incarnate. Um, that seems
Shark.
to be.
I'd like to be a shark.
Well, you want to be a shark. I
I'd like
see
to be a
that.
shark.
Yeah, I want to be an eagle. So
oh,
okay.
Oh, I like that choice too.
Yeah.
Solid.
house cat, I guess. What's the laziest one? I want that one.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much already there, but
Thank you, Jenny.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Meanwhile, I know we're getting a lot of comments. We try to keep up with them, but Tress and I are both notorious for getting very focused on the subject at hand
Mhm.
and not being able to respond. But we appreciate all of the comments. We're hoping to get to some of those questions, but uh, Tress is a cat. I'm worried about being a shark. We got an eagle with
We
us
got
too, so
problems. Yeah.
yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Well,
So,
no,
no, go ahead. Go
please,
ahead. Go ahead.
no, please, no,
Shut up
please.
and talk, please.
Okay. So you started off with MUFON as a field investigator,
Right.
right? And then from what I remember from reviewing earlier, um, you got into training,
Hmm.
which is amazing, and then kind of ended up in being a part of the support group,
Right.
right? And was that around the time there was an omega-3 study, which I read about,
Okay. Yeah.
um, and was that sort of around the same time as the you starting in the support group arena?
Well, the scenario timeline on all this is back in 2007, 8 time frame. Um, I had gone to the international director of MUFON, and who was James Carrion at the time, and said, "Hey, you guys are missing the boat on working with these people that claim that they've had experiences with non-human intelligences. You don't have a mechanism to work with them." And so what happened was that uh, uh, I, in talking to them and working with them, they said, "Okay, you have an organization that's handling things like that. Why don't we send you all the people that call us?" Okay. And so I was getting all the phone calls directed to me from these people that were looking for help. And so I did that for a while. And then they asked me, "Okay, we'd like to understand a little bit more about these abductees, these experiencers. So can you put a team together and put together a study on these people?" So I did. And they funded it. And I got together a group of psychologists, and we took 71 people that claimed that they had experiences, and 51 people as a control group. And we had them take 9 different psychological instruments, and we found some interesting things. One was the fact that none of them had any psychopathology. Number one, they weren't
Oh.
crazy. They weren't crazy.
So
And that
that
went,
does that cover like all sorts of like
yeah, oh,
just
yeah,
Anxiety,
abuse
depression,
disorders,
yeah,
anxiety, all of those
yeah,
things
PTSD.
too.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because we had 9 different instruments that psychological testing that we did,
Yeah.
and and that report, by the way, is on our Opus website at opusnetwork.org. You can go into our articles and documents section, and you'll see the full 28-page report on it. So anyway, we found out that they didn't have a psychopathology. They were not fantasy prone, okay, which a lot of debunkers talk about, that, oh, they must be fantasy prone. And a couple of other things that, people talk about sleep paralysis is why this is going on. Well, 2/3 of all cases, whether in the bedroom or not, did not involve sleep paralysis. Okay,
Mhm.
and then the other one is false memory syndrome, which is talked about a lot. Well, the American Psychological Association or any other mainstream psychological diagnostic system has either ratified or proven such a diagnosis. So, you know, when you really start digging into this stuff, you find that there's a lot of reasons why these debunkers are full of it. uh, to put it kindly.
Yeah.
um, we also found that they all came back with a worldview that's, wonderful. That we need to be better stewards of the planet, as I said earlier. We need to be more loving. We need to be better to one another. I mean, those are wonderful things.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of it was like they weren't uh, malevolent or they weren't beneficent. I mean, it was like a sort of in the middle.
A little neutral.
Yeah, kind of a neutral kind of a thing that was going on. But the most interesting thing we found was that there was a difference in the experiences in their temporal lobe activity. And that's something that needs to be further studied. And a gentleman at Stanford University, Gary Nolan, who's a microbiologist, has done some studies with experiencers, and they found after MRIs of their brains that in the area of the caudate and putamen, there was a lot more connections in these experiencers than in the control group. And because of that, they had these capabilities of telepathic communication, psychic abilities, and things of that nature. So it's like there's an evolutionary process that's going on with these people, and they're able to connect with other people that have the same thing going on. So eventually, people that don't have that capability will probably not be around much longer. It'll be these people that have those kind of capabilities that will be here. So it's like an evolutionary process that's happening. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating when you really start to dig in as to what's going on, and it's on a level that's mind-boggling. I mean, it's there's so much going on right now.
Once
Well,
you said temporal lobe, I was like, oh, do they have psychic abilities now? Oh, that's great. I love that.
Hmm.
well, there's a couple of things that really strike me about that is one, to have such a profound shift in life outlook or life value is
Hmm.
usually, when you look at it from a psychological angle, it's usually precipitated by something very impactful happening, like an
Hmm.
occurrence or some sort of massive thing happens to you in order for that shift to happen, one
Ontological
way or
shock.
another. Oh, there we
Ontological
go.
shock. That's the terminology that's used often about these experiences. There's an ontological shock that occurs to these people. You know, what's really interesting is the fact that most people in the beginning are absolutely full of fear. It's extremely stressful type of a situation that goes on. However, eventually they come to accept what's going on. They come to be more comfortable with it. And then in the final phase, when it stops, it's almost like the Stockholm syndrome. How come they're not coming for me anymore? Don't
Yeah.
they love me anymore? What's going on?
I did so
It- it-
much for them.
yeah, exactly. I gave
Yeah.
them my sperm, my eggs, my blood, whatever. It's
Just
just
gonna
My
leave me
heart.
like this?
yeah. Hopefully
Switch
not
my
your heart.
guts around?
No, but yeah, it is. It's an amazing process that goes on, and what I believe it is, it's a spiritual process that when they come
So
out
I
the
think
other
that.
end of this thing, that they have a totally different worldview, that they understand that we are not alone, that there's other things going on in our existence in this reality that relates to other realities. So it's an incredible process.
I'm a member of a group that talks about spiritual awakenings as a
Mm.
personality shift, and that was the thing that I thought of immediately when you said that they had that profound
Mm-hmm.
change, which is amazing. But also for myself and people who also do not study, brain stuff, the temporal lobe is the more recent evolutionary sort of jumps, right? Like just from what we know of in the decision making process, all of those things. It came after the lizard brain
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. That's what we're talking about, right? The shift in the
Yeah,
temporal lobe.
yeah. Evidently, there's somehow there's a shift with these people, which we don't fully understand. Why that has occurred. Is
Mhm.
this something? Is this something that has been created eons ago in a certain group of people? People talk about why me, okay? Why me? And I have the feeling that there's been a long-term study that has been going on with us, okay, with them, whoever them is, and that they check on a regular basis. And so they come back year after year, generation after generation, because a lot of this is generational. It's not just one person. You start talking to them, they find out that their grandmother had an experience,
Oh
or their
wow.
great grandmother has had an experience. And so they follow these generations. And so, uh, and people talk about, well, God, they're so smart. Why do they have to keep coming back? Why, they'll take us and they'll do whatever they need to do with us, and then they leave. Well, it's like a school that
Yeah,
the next generation of aliens, if you will, I'll use that terminology. They need to teach the next generation what's going on and how to deal with us. We're not at the top of the food chain,
Oh
folks.
no.
We're,
mm-mm.
there's a whole different layer that's above us that's doing this. I mean, think about the fact that when we go out to the ocean and pull a porpoise out of the ocean, and we measure them, we
Mhm.
tag them, okay, implant, tag them, okay. We take blood samples. We might take skin samples. We might do a whole bunch of different things to them. Then we throw them back in the water. We take them out of their environment, their reality, put them into our reality on board the craft, okay, the boat, and then we throw them back in. And a year later, we come back and we find the same one, and we measure him again. Okay, he's grown 2 inches. His blood is just as good, uh, and so they've been able to track him because of the tag that's on him. So it's very
Mhm.
similar. It's very
I
similar.
I gotta tell you this story real quick. The first time I found my distrust of Neil deGrasse Tyson is when he said
I
that
just love him
aliens.
so much.
Shush.
He's
He said
so nice.
aliens would never come here. They're smarter than us. We're like bugs to them. And I was watching him say this with my 7-year-old son, and
Hmm.
my 7-year-old son was like, "That is so stupid. People
Yeah.
love bugs, collect them,
Yeah.
study them.
Yeah.
Why would they not do that to us?"
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, it's so
Your, your
obvious.
son is very smart. Very smart.
Yes, he was.
That is good. That is. I have to
Yeah.
remember that. I might have to use that one. Give him
Oh,
credit.
yes.
Please
What
do.
what's your
Yeah.
son's name? What's your son's name?
Baron.
Baron. Oh, great. Okay, I'll have to use that. Baron. So this
Yeah.
guy kid I knew. That's
Well, it's
great.
true. And
Yeah.
and not only that, but we study groups of animals generationally. You
Sure.
study a family of
Exactly.
animals, it's the whole family, and you continue to study,
Exactly.
so that
It's
makes perfect sense.
all absolutely the same thing going on, folks. It's the same thing.
Oh, I love this so
That
much.
I'm pretty sure about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean,
Yeah,
and
I'm
we're
good with
also
being
coming at
studied.
it with
Yeah.
our human brains, so it
Hmm.
could be so much more and better and different than that. But for our perspective, that makes perfect sense. You
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
Yeah, that perception of it could be completely different than what we see, but
Sure.
this is what we see. I love this idea of the support groups and the people being able to talk about experiences that have happened to them. When you sort of co-founded like Opus, is it very specific towards people who have experienced abductions or anything like that, or does it kind of cover a lot of paranormal things? What is it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And what our philosophy was, and if you look at our mission statement,
Mhm.
we talk about whether it's Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, poltergeist activity, anything in the paranormal realm, we are open to. However, having said that, most of the people that come to us for whatever reason seem to have had contact with these non-human intelligences.
Oh,
And so we've basically ended up focusing on that. But we also, if somebody comes to us, and claiming that they have demon possession or poltergeist activity, we can refer them to organizations that we are affiliated with, and we can point them in the right direction. Okay, go here, contact these people, and so so we don't internally have that kind of knowledge, but we can point people in the right direction.
Oh, that is phenomenal. The website I looked at is beautifully laid out. It's very easy to interact with. Um, from what I could tell, I liked it. But again, I'm a big fan of like any kind of support group whatsoever. If you have an
and
issue,
Jenny
go talk
loves
to
a
somebody.
well laid out website. She's a
I
big
do. I
fan.
really do.
Uh,
When they're easy to navigate, I'm
uh,
happy, because if it's difficult, then I
mm,
just don't do it.
right,
Life,
right.
life
So-
mantra.
oh, good. I'm glad you like it. Glad you like it. Yeah.
um, so you have a lot of activity as far as having people. You said something like 400.
Right now, right. Almost 400 people from all over the world: Africa, South Africa, Asia, Europe. We even have a person from Iran in the group, which is
Oh.
interesting.
Can we have the
Japan.
directory of all these people and their phone numbers and addresses?
No.
We're conducting a study.
Oh, you're good. I tried to get you. You're
Yeah, you
good.
really did.
No.
She almost got me. I was like, well, I got some stuff you can have.
Oh no. Yeah, we try to keep it as confidential as possible in this world of scams and
Well,
s- people hacking websites. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys know that the MUFON website was hacked big time,
I did
and
not
Oh,
know this.
the CMS system is shut down right now. They can't bring it back up. I don't know if they've been asked to give somebody money to get it back online, but I haven't heard any more details. By the way, just for total transparency, I am a member of the MUFON ERT, their experiencer resource team, as a research consultant. So I'm still involved with MUFON in that regard. I'm not a field investigator anymore. I haven't been a field investigator for years and years. Uh, I'm a regular member of MUFON. I pay my dues and get my journal. But
yes.
uh, no, it's a good organization, and so hopefully they can get that situation squared away. But yeah, they were hacked big time.
Oh,
Yikes.
wow.
That happened at a job I worked once. It was rough.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we got to wrap it up, but now that
Oh
you
no.
mentioned MUFON, I
I
want to hear
know.
all the stories about MUFON, but we have to
Uh-huh.
wrap it up.
Oh,
Do you have anything else you want to plug? Any websites or
sure,
anything?
sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys very much for having me
Thank
on your
you.
show. Really appreciate it. Like I said, people like yourselves that are doing shows like this are very important. So keep up the good work. That's very important. Um, yeah. So what Opus is all about is helping people. So one of the ways we do that is by having a referral network, an online support group, and a triage group. But of course, as a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, we depend on donations. So if you go to our website at opusnetwork.org and take a look at it, there's a lot of good information there. We have interviews that actually I have done with a number of people Uh, and you can see that on our website as well as on our YouTube channel, which is if you go to OPUS separate word network, you can see all the interviews that I've done thus far. And the last one I just put up today, actually, of a gentleman that is in our support group who's an experiencer and had an incredible explanation of the hybrid situation. So if you want to check that
Oh,
out, it's really interesting. It blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. Um,
Wow.
we're also looking for more therapists, whether you're a licensed mental health practitioner or a certified hypnotherapist. We're always looking for people like that. And let me quickly say on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. We need all the subscriptions we can get because then we can maybe generate some funds out of there. Those YouTube people.
There you go.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it. What I wanted to cover. And again,
Mhm.
thank you guys. It was been fun. It's been
Yeah.
really good, and maybe we can do it again sometime.
Oh,
Oh,
you
Oh,
have
what?
to
let's do
Oh,
come
that.
back.
one more thing.
Oh, please.
Yeah, of
One
course.
more thing. I produced a book 2 years ago called "The Unknown Other and the
Mhm.
Existential Proposition of Alien Contact," which covers a lot of the psychological and physical manifestations that these experiences are going through, with a lot of other things, along with like 25 other stories from experiencers and telling their stories that these people are in our support group. So it's rather fascinating. And this one, especially, who I did the interview with, and it's on YouTube right now, Adam Burns, talked about the hybrid situation. It's fascinating. You got to check it out. It's really good.
Nice. We'll have
Yeah,
links to the book and the websites and the YouTube and everything so people can find it really easily.
Oh,
Because
great.
this has been
yeah.
great. Jenny, do you
Oh,
have
This has
something
been
you want to say?
wonderful.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah, I'm very excited. The book's on my reading list. I always like talking to the person before I read the book because otherwise, then I have these preconceived sort of
yeah.
notions in my
Uh,
head. But I'm very excited about that, and very excited. Please, support the support groups.
oh,
Honestly,
Yeah.
thank you.
they
Thank
do
you.
so much good. Thank you so much for having the group. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been fun. It's been
Yeah.
really a lot of fun, and I again I think you guys are doing a fabulous job. Keep it up.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody else, we'll see you next week. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, do all the things. And we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.